Peace, Black family. Today we have Professor James Smalls. Let me start by saying it is a pleasure to be with you today this evening.
It's a pleasure. I've been hanging out with you all day, it seems like. We met at the barbershop, Jabari's barbershop. We had a good time there, Facebook, and now we're here at the lecture, so it's a good thing.
And actually, I'm not sure if you remember, we met actually a year ago in New York where we was doing the lecture with the other Jabari from New York, Tazari Yak, and on Satnetta TV. So that was a good time meeting you. So it's good to be in your presence again today.
Yes.
So something I've been on my mind, and I need a master teacher to kind of give enlightenment on it, is this whole movement with the Aboriginals, right? And I know this is something that you touched on before, but I kind of want a little bit of elaboration on the fact that, there was a group of people here prior to the slave trade who was African descent or from Africa, and a lot of us did come on the slave trade. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, see, the thing that bothers me is people making it a big deal. There was a group of black people on every continent in the world. And so why wouldn't they be in North America? But also, we need to ask the question, what happened to them? Many of those people died off from the disease that the white man brought because they didn't have the immune system. Those of us who were in close contact with them on the Mediterranean and in Africa had. Many of them amalgamated with us. All of them amalgamated with us who came on the slave ship. The African-American population is made up of the population that was here and the population who came from Africa. There's some people trying to make some class separation as though there's two populations. That's childish and silly. And that's people who are trying to avoid the responsibility of being an African.
Right.
Because even those people came from Africa. So what are they talking about? What does Aborigine mean? It simply means someone who's original to that space. No one is original to any space except Africa. Everybody migrated from Africa to other places, and then people migrated from Africa to here. There was 6 white men, I think there were, about 5 or 6 months ago that came over here in a rowboat from the Canary Islands. So if 6 white men could come here in a rowboat 6 months ago, Africans were coming and going back and forth all the time. No one ever questioned whether Africans was here. Christopher Columbus wrote about them. He called them Ethiopians. His brother wrote about them. Verrazano wrote about them and others. So there's never been a secret event. Ivan Van Sertima was writing about it. The Jewish guy, I forgot his name, wrote a book on it. And certainly my brother Michael Imhotep was on top of it with modern and new research. But it's not a different people. It was just some African people who was here before the African people who were captured and brought here. So this thing of Aborigine is silliness. Nobody is Aboriginal to any place except Africa. Everybody else migrated here. That we migrated here ahead of the Asiatics is the only thing you can make reference to. But we didn't grow up out of the earth here. We migrated from Africa here. So does that make them an Aborigine? We migrated from Africa to Australia. We migrated to New Guinea and New Caledonia and Cambodia and Thailand and India. All of those population has a base black Aborigine population, if you want to call it that. But the only place someone can be Aboriginal is in Africa. Everywhere else, you're an immigrant.
That's powerful, brother. That's powerful. Something else I wanted you to elaborate on. I took a lot of heat recently when I made a statement saying that Marcus Garvey was highly influenced by the Haitian Revolution, and that the colors that we sport today, the red, black, and green, was highly influenced by the first Haitian flag, which was black and red. Can you elaborate on that history a little bit for me, brother?
Yes, sir. Marcus Garvey even wore the uniform of Dessalines. What's wrong with people? Marcus Garvey said he was influenced by Dessalines. The Haitian Revolution has had the biggest influence on all black leaders from the time of that revolution till this day of any other formulation. And certainly Marcus Garvey was heavily influenced being right next door to Haiti, being in Jamaica. Because many Haitians, after the revolution and after the betrayal of the revolution, went to Jamaica. Some went to Trinidad, some went to Grenada, some went to Jamaica, some came to New Orleans, So Garvey, like everybody in the Caribbean, knew of the history and the exploits of Jean-Jacques Dessalines and of Toussaint Louverture, So there's nothing else to say about that. The red, black, and green flag The flag, the original flag of Haiti, is the black and red flag put forth by Dessalines. And it was another sister of Haiti. I don't think it was Felicite. Felicite, his wife, the empress. And so Garvey added the green to it, but Garvey never used it as a flag. He used it as a banner, and it wasn't red, black, and green. It was black, red, and green, just like the Haitian flag with the green being added.
You hear that, family? Okay, so the Queen asked the question, what's the difference between a flag and a banner?
Right. A flag is flown over your building or over yourself or over your property. A banner is carried on a pole in a horizontal position, but never raised as a flag. Okay. Yes.
Okay. Now,
remember, Garvey had a flag called the Black Star. That's the flag that flew over the liner. It wasn't just that it was named the Black Star. They actually had a flag with a black star. I think it's the black star in a green field. I'm not sure. I'd have to check it out. But he also had the red, black, and green as our colors, as our race color, because he wasn't talking about nationality. He was talking about universality of the African being.
Thank you for the question, Queen. One of the issues that we find within the diaspora, specifically when dealing with Africans here in America, is that the common narrative is that continental Africans don't like us. And I think in not studying our history, we don't understand how most African countries are only 50 years out of colonialism, which is their form of slavery. So when they're dealing with a continental African, they're dealing with someone who's necessarily 50 years out of slavery. We're 150 years out of slavery. And if we can't get it right in 150 years, we can't expect our brothers and sisters on the continent to get it right. Because if you go to Ghana in certain parts, you see in the blue-black country, white Jesus all over the place. So can you elaborate on some of the indoctrination that takes place on the continent?
Right, but I won't just put the onus on the African American. The African from the continent have to take that onus too, because they take the same position. When the African from the continent who's coming here out of their slavery, they're not coming to partner with the African American, the African brother. They come to partner with the white man because they're looking for wealth and security. And that means in almost every case you must reject the African American because the white man has rejected the African American. That's also a part of the problem. The African American, in his ignorance of who the African is historically, rejects the African because he's operating on stereotypes that's put in his head by the same white man. So that's why I always come to the question is we must know our own history in order to know our own selves, so we'll know how to build the relationships between ourselves. And that's what the key is. The continent is still at war, just like we're still at war. But as you said, slavery in most cases haven't ended on the continent yet. Colonialism and neocolonialism is still in full play.
So the last question will probably be, how do we restore the African connection? Because, as we know, let's say Kwame Nkrumah was a Pan-Africanist, right? The Ghana star with the black star line is after Garvey, right? So when you see that star in the Ghanaian flag, it's modeled after Garvey. We know that Pan-Africanism existed with people like Stokely Carmichael, who was from Trinidad, who came here to America and picked up the movement. How do we restore the diaspora, the connection amongst each other?
You don't have to restore it. You have to expand on it. It never got lost. We need to constantly expand on it. My wife is born in Aruba, mama from Trinidad, daddy from St. Martin. I mean, that's about as Pan-African as you're going to get in a marriage. And we have been having those kinds of relationships at the personal level. But what we need to do is have the political relationship Pan-African-wise, the economic relationship Pan-African-wise, and the cultural relationship Pan-African-wise. And I think when we get more deliberate about those three areas of unity and working together, we'll see more positive development among the African people worldwide around their Pan-African concepts, ideas, and principles.
Well, I thank you, Professor Smalls. I appreciate your time. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor to see you.